I feel like the Zoomers and the Gen Alpha that has come after them have a bad reputation for having really bad attention spans. The iPad kids at the restaurant, their brains are, as far as everyone else is concerned, absolutely cooked. If you take away their iPad for more than 2 seconds, they start having an absolute meltdown. Even if they're in public, even if it is not the right time or place, they are not disciplined enough to not have a complete mental breakdown in the middle of the Apple store, because their brains can't go 30 seconds without the dopamine from Cocoa Melon. And let me just remind you guys that the Zoomers, or Gen Z, that generation starts at like the end of the 90s, early 2000s, right? Which means a lot of the Zoomers are 24. So welcome to adulthood. The Zoomers are older than you thought. But while this might all be true, and it's probably the case that, because these generations of people grew up with iPads and with cell phones and with PlayStation 4s instead of the Atari, it's likely that the technology that they have been glued to since they first came into this world is a prime culprit and is the number one reason why their brains are fried. And I don't think that even the Generation Alpha or the Zoomers, I feel like they probably won't even argue with you half the time. I mean, they know they're on TikTok all day, right? I mean, like, let's just be real, that's how it is. But I feel like they have a bad reputation because I don't think that this problem is unique to the Zoomers or Gen Alpha, because I am 30 and I am quickly realizing that my attention span is also cooked. Okay, this is coming from somebody who, growing up, I spent a large chunk of my childhood playing with plastic action figures on the front porch or in the backyard or in the back of the van as my dad drove down the road. Like, I played with toys growing up a lot, and that's not to say that I didn't also play Pokemon Yellow version on my Game Boy Color. I still have it here. Let me see if I can find it. You can see the screen is super scratched. The buttons, like this, the B button was just stuck for a second. I know the speaker's blown on this thing, and the stickers are ripped off from the back. I also found a Tamagotchi. Now, this is actually a little bit newer, but it's a remake or a re-release of the ones that I grew up with. But my point is that, I grew up with technology too. Okay, it's not an iPad, but it's something. But at least I had toys and I read books in school and all that other stuff. I didn't just have ChatGPT do all of my homework for me. And even me being 30, I still find that my attention span is absolutely shot. Okay, and I don't know what to do about it, or I should say I kind of know what I should do about it, but I don't know how to actually do it. And it's gotten to the point where I've deleted Instagram off my phone. I don't use TikTok, luckily, thank God. I never got addicted to TikTok, and I'm not addicted to YouTube Shorts or anything like that, but I did find myself using Instagram quite a bit, so I deleted that off my phone. But I feel like we have this weird thing where we point the finger at the kids, the young kids, and say, oh, look at their attention span's so screwed, like they're gonna be such bad workers when they grow up. And it's like, yep, true, but time to look in the mirror, because you also can't get off of Facebook, right? Like, it's weird how we like to, hypocritically make fun of the younger kids. When's the last time you read a book, right? Everyone knows they should probably read a little bit more than they do, and yet they don't do it. And it's not even that they don't want to, it's that they can't do it. People can't read books, and it's not that you can't literally read, although I would argue that most likely literacy rates are, I haven't Googled it, but I'm sure if I Google it, I'm not gonna be happy with what I see. But my point is that people can't read books now, even if they used to be able to read books, even if they're older, because their attention span is actually shot, right? And it's one of those things where it's very, sorry, it's hot in here, but it's sneaky how it creeps up on you. Okay, because it's almost like you are addicted to a substance, because I'm sure that if you're watching this video and you're saying, hey Omni, you're not talking about me, sorry bud, but that's not me. A lot of times what people think in their mind is, well, I read a book not that long ago, and like I could read a book right now if I really wanted to. And you say that for 5 years in a row, and the next thing you know, you think you can read a book, but when was the last time you even tried? Really, you just have that defense mechanism of I could do it if I wanted to. Really? Are you sure about that? Because I'm not super convinced. I've tried to do it. I've got plenty of books, and it's really hard. It's really hard. And look, reading's not for everyone, okay? And reading has never been a super popular hobby. Even 100 years ago, like, people would rather play sports or, like, you know, do whatever. And so reading, contrary to popular belief, sure, people used to read more because that's all they could do. But even at the peak of reading, when reading was lit, literally literature, it was lit, it still wasn't like the cool, like, not everyone read books all the time, right? So my point is, you know, maybe I'm harping on reading too much, but I'm just using that as an example because it actually gets worse. I also can't really play older games that I used to play growing up, or even like more modern games like the new Call of Duty. My attention span is just it. I just don't get pulled into those things anymore, and I used to be obsessed with gaming, right? I have so many games off on the shelf here that I feel like I just can't really play anymore, and this extends to movies and television shows as well. And that's not to say that, you know, it's not as extreme as with books, right? Like, books are really like, you sit there for 30 minutes and you read, and then you check your phone and you say, wow, shit, it's actually only been 3 minutes and I've only read 3 pages, but it felt like 30 because it's a mentally just exhausting to focus. Books is like the worst example, right? And then video games and TV shows and movies kind of fall beneath that. I can watch a TV show to an extent. I can, you know, watch a movie, play a video game to an extent. It's not as bad for me, for my attention span, as reading, and it's even better if I can do it with somebody else, right? If I have somebody else there with me, I'm more likely to get invested into a show or a movie or a game. But my point is, when I was growing up, it was easy to get into a video game, and as a matter of fact, it would be hard to get me off of a video game, and these days it's not the same. And so I am kind of bumping up into a scenario, or I'm encountering a scenario where I don't, like, surely something's got to change, right? And I just feel like if we look back at what changed over my life, it would have to be social media, right? I mean, YouTube takes up a lot of my time, not only because it is my full-time job, but also, like, I love watching YouTube content. The recommendations that they give me are exactly what I want to watch. Like, their algorithm is it's on fire, right? Like, it is serving up some heat. Yes, I want to know which direction the rivers flow in Skyrim. Yes, that's a video that I want to watch at 2 a.m. Those, like, videos that literally, like, in the grand scheme of things, are purely entertainment. There's literally nothing else about that video other than entertainment. Maybe you'll learn a fact or two about how rivers work, right? But my point is that those videos are purely entertainment, and my brain is wired to crave more of those videos because they're so random that when I refresh the feed or I check it in the morning versus the evening, like, there's new things that I can watch or learn, and I never know what's going to pop up. It could be something insane, right? It could be a news story. It could be a new playthrough of someone just beat a world record speed run for Mario 64. Like, it could be anything. Who knows, right? And those algorithms are the most nefarious. Like, they just keep you hooked. They keep you hooked. And whether, for me it's YouTube, maybe for you it's TikTok, maybe it's for someone else it's Instagram or Facebook, right? But we all have our digital dopamine crutch, and to me, I'm not hurting anybody by doing this, right? By watching YouTube videos, I'm not hurting anybody. It's not illegal, and I still do my job, and it is what it is. I'm still productive. I can still, work out occasionally and pay bills, whatever. So I'm not like a detriment to society because I'm like addicted to the internet, but I still feel like it's wrong, right? Like, there's alarm bells going off in my head like, dude, you can't read a book, bro. Like, that's crazy. Like, you're 30, read a fucking book. Like, what are you doing? Like, put down your phone and play one of the dozens of video games that you have that you've only put an hour into before getting bored, right? For Black Friday, I got a good deal on Resident Evil 4 and for Sonic Frontiers on the PS5, and I bought these games with the intention, obviously, of playing them. And I thought, well, I'm going to get a good deal on them, and they're games that I wanted to play, right? Like Sonic 2, I think, on the Genesis was the first ever video game I think I ever played, and I have always heard great things about Resident Evil 4. I heard the remake for PS5 is great, so I bought these on Black Friday, got a great deal, and I thought, cool, I'll get them on sale and I'll be able to actually like play some games that I've wanted to play. The problem with that is I did not get these for Black Friday 2024. I got them Black Friday of 2023, and guess how many times I've played them since that Black Friday? One time. Congratulations, you guessed correctly. So my point is, I have games that I intentionally bought, and this goes for books and, you know, digitally, TV shows, things like that, where I have media and content that I want to watch and I can't do it, right? And I say the word I can't, and I know I'm kind of selling myself short. I could do it, right? But my point is, there's alarm bells going off in my head saying, dude, this has got to be a problem, right? Like, surely if you want to do something and you don't do it, well, then you are not in control of what you are doing, right? And that sounds a little bit like an addiction to me. I don't know about you guys, right? But like, that's kind of the case with people who are addicted to substances like alcohol or drugs or whatever. You compulsively do something even if you don't want to do it, right? And for me, it's using the internet, using social media, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, whatever. I want to spend more time doing other things, and it's actually silly that I'm saying gaming. I want to spend more time gaming. I want to get back into gaming. People think of gaming as this degenerate hobby that people are addicted to, right? And for me, I feel like my brain is so cooked on YouTube and on social media that I can't even get into the other hobby that other people say is too addicting, right? Like, that's bad. That's not a good thing, you know. And I feel like I'm part of the reason I'm even making this video is to find out if there are other people out there that are in this same scenario, whether you are Gen Alpha, Zoomer, Millennial, Boomer, wherever you land on that spectrum, whether you're 16 or 66, do you find that your attention span is worse than it was 5 or 10 years ago, right? And it's crazy to think 5 years ago was 2019, the start of the pandemic, right? Was 5 years ago. Mind blown. Okay. You know, maybe you want to take a seat after me telling you that was 5 years ago. Okay. But my point is, I'm hoping I can discover that I'm not alone here, and I suspect that I'm not, because some of the videos, ironically, that I'm getting recommended on YouTube are people that are discovering that they are collecting movies, TV shows, and retro video games, and then simultaneously discovering that they are collecting these things and not enjoying them to their extent. They're not playing the games they're collecting. They're not watching the movies they're collecting. They are collecting them out of habit or hobby, and then one day waking up and realizing that they have 400 video games and their collection's worth 12 grand, and they actually have only played a third of the content that they've purchased. And it leads them to ask themselves, why are they actually collecting these GameCube games if they're not going to play them? And I feel like part of the reason that people aren't enjoying these games, movies, TV shows, or books is because they can't do it with their existing attention span. And it's very dangerous, because you might be saying, oh, well, I actually just don't have time, like I'm so busy. And it's like, really go into the screen time on your phone. There's a setting on your phone. You can go into the settings and you can see how much time you actually spend on these apps every single day, and you might discover that you actually do have 3 extra hours per day. You just don't realize it because you're consuming those 3 hours 8 minutes at a time on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, right? So most of the time you do actually have the time. It's just that you are not in control of your time because you're using it habitually and in a addictive sense. And so I want to know if you guys feel the same way as I do, and what do we do about this? Has anyone watching this cracked the code, right? How do I get back into enjoying older games that I used to enjoy, or watching TV shows and not checking my phone every 2 seconds, because that's the other thing, right? Trying to get into like Game of Thrones. Okay, there's a billion different characters. I've watched the first season. It's hard to like keep track of all the different characters and what's happening in the story and everything like that when you check your phone every 9 minutes. And you know, I'm like consciously aware of that, and I try not to do it, but then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, I've been on my phone for 5 minutes. What just happened? Right? So part of me wants to know how many other people are in the same boat, but then the other part of me wonders what the future of content is, right? Because we are on the cusp right now. The technology exists right now where you can make videos of celebrities, political figures, whatever, with AI, and 98% of people, it will be indistinguishable from reality. And you might be saying, oh, that's not me, and I'm here to tell you, yes it is. Okay, you just might not have seen the type of content that I'm talking about, but there exists already AI video of people that you will not be able to tell is not real. Okay, and as time goes on, it's going to be cheaper to make those videos, it's going to be easier to make those videos, and as we've seen with like Sora and things like that, AI video generation, generating entire videos from AI, is going to get more popular, more common, and it's going to be more accessible than ever. So we are right now about to break into a world where AI content will be unlimited in quantity and unlimited in quality. Okay, it will be exactly what you want to see whenever you want to see it at all times. And we're probably, you know, right now we have feeds of user generated content. We're going to have feeds of AI generated content that's just going to generate the exact content you want to watch, that you don't even know you want to watch it. And even if nobody out there has made it yet, no problem. AI will literally just make you the content you want to see exactly and precisely every single time. And the app that figures that out, of course, is the first multi-trillion-dollar company, right? I know we already got a couple of those, but it'll be a 10, 20, 30, 50, $100 trillion company. Okay, my point is, we are on the cusp of unlimited AI content that is in quantity and quality. And what is going to happen when that happens? Because I think the knee-jerk reaction is that, oh my God, things are only going to get worse from here, right? Like people's attention spans are only going to get worse. People's addiction to their phones only going to get worse. There's going to be so much great content that, you know, it's going to be unlimited in scope and size. And it's going to be, you know, first of all, a golden era for content. And there's just going to be so much to enjoy that it's going to be, you know, it's going to be great for the consumer, right? But from my perspective, I actually am starting to wonder if it's actually going to backfire. I'm trying to think of a good way to describe this, but if you are familiar with Pokemon cards, okay, if you think back to the original sets of cards when they first came out, there's the base set. If you got a holographic card, a shiny card, it was a big deal because there was only a couple per set and you weren't guaranteed on every pack. They were pretty rare, right? But if you got a shiny card out of those packs, it was awesome. These days, there's some form of a holographic card in every pack, whether it's a reverse holo, a standard holo, a full art, whatever. You're pretty much going to get some form or fashion of a holographic card, and the holographic nature of cards is no longer that special, right? Like, just because it's shiny, who cares? What we'd really care about is the ultra full art, second printing, shiny, like alternate artwork, whatever, and it's like one in a case, right? That's what we care about now. But my point is the novelty of the shiny has degraded over time, and it's not just Pokemon, it happens with Yu-Gi-Oh and everything else. And my point is, and the reason I'm using this as an analogy, is that as we get more and more and more high quality AI generated content that is so good you can barely distinguish it from real content, or you can't distinguish it at all, right, is ultimately what's going to happen. I wonder if people are actually going to start watching content less, right? Because at a certain point it's going to be like, okay, well, there's nothing left for me here, right? The AI generated all the content that I've wanted to watch ever, and we've hit the ceiling. We're done. Like, we've solved content's done. Like, when you want to watch it, you can watch it, but it's no longer novel anymore, right? Like, I guess you could like program in the novelty, I guess, maybe, but like, my point is, I wonder if people are going to start to shift away from digital content and back to retro games, older TV shows and movies, and back to reading books and playing board games and things in the real world, because the digital world will effectively have been solved, right? It's over. You're done. You can't, we're there. You can generate anything you ever wanted to watch, ever, right? If you want to watch a puppy, you know, running on the moon while he's licking an ice cream cone, and in the background is the, you know, the exact sports teams that you want to watch, and the exact outcome of that game is going to happen, and it's the team that you want to win is going to win. Like, if you can watch exactly what you want at any given time, suddenly you actually don't want to watch anything, right? Because you already know what's going to happen. You already know you can watch what you want to watch. And I don't know, hopefully I'm explaining this correctly, right? Where, like, let me use another example. Okay, have you ever played Grand Theft Auto? Like San Andreas, for example, the best Grand Theft Auto game. But really, if you've played any of them, you'll know what I'm talking about here. If you use a cheat code to have unlimited health or unlimited weapons, unlimited bullets, whatever, the game gets really boring really quick, right? Because you can't die, you have unlimited bullets, you can do whatever you want, you can go wherever you want, you can kill whoever you want, the cops can't stop you, right? And so the game kind of loses a little bit of its fun and charm, because there's no opposition, right? There's no, you no longer wonder what will happen. There's no risk involved. Okay, you're just God. You are just unlimited life, unlimited bullets, unlimited whatever. You cannot be stopped, and you can only use those cheat codes so many times before you realize that it actually ruins the game, like in the long run, right? You might have fun for an hour just blowing things up, which is great, but in the long run it makes you not enjoy the game. That was a problem I always ran into with Grand Theft Auto. The cheats are so enticing, you want to use them, but then the ability to use them actually removes the challenge from the game, and so simultaneously I no longer want to play, right? Same thing with, you know, playing Minecraft and then turning on like console commands, and you could just generate whatever block you wanted, and then boom, you don't have to go find it. Well, now the incentive to just do that for every block you care about, and then all of a sudden you're technically playing creative mode, and now there's no challenge, and you're done, right? And so, you know, using those as examples, it's almost like if we have unlimited AI content that is perfect in quality and quantity, and it's always exactly what you want to watch, in my mind, is that not the same thing as just having unlimited health points and bullets in Grand Theft Auto? It's kind of solved. Like, you know, anytime you open YouTube or whatever the app is going to be, TikTok, whatever, you know, you're just going to see exactly what you want every single time. And maybe like that's a great thing, but what if people simultaneously look at that and say like, oh man, well, I actually want something that I don't expect, or that isn't catered directly for me, right? And so maybe the AI will somehow code that in, the randomness factor that humans enjoy, but even still, we're going to know that that's the case, right? Like, we'll know that it will have solved for that problem as well. And so it's just, to me, I don't know, maybe it all just feels fake. It's just artificial. It's not real. It's all, you know, I don't know, maybe I'm just feeling nostalgic for like physical media, right? And I do feel nostalgic for physical media, but I'm just curious what's actually going to happen with, and we won't have to wait that long to find out. Truthfully, it's less than 5 years away, I suspect. But wouldn't that be an interesting outcome if AI finally solves our content craving problem, and the first thing that people do is go back to physical media and books and board games and going outside, going on hikes, right? I feel like, you know, right now our culture is so boring. It's so boring. You look back to the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s, and you can look and you can see exactly what defined that culture, right? I mean, you can't even think about the 80s without thinking about the big hairstyles and the metal bands and all, you know, these generations, these decades have a defining culture. And in our current culture, you know, obviously it's harder to define it when you're in it, right? Because you're too close to see it. But even still, like, I can't really think of any defining franchises that have launched in the last few years, or defining movies that are like insane, right? Like, they're like, some of the biggest releases recently are still movies that are Marvel movies, Barbie. These are all things from the 80s, from the 90s. That's not today's generation. That's still borrowing from decades past. What is authentically from now? And I think that you can make a list of things, but it's going to be short, I think. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that, and maybe that's a topic for another video. But I think as content becomes faster and it becomes disposable, we lose the fandom, really the fandom aspect of some content. And when it's all AI generated, I mean, like, wow, you won't be able to be a fan of anything because your feed and your content will be exclusively yours, right? No one will have that shared experience of watching Game of Thrones together, because everyone's favorite show is going to be their own tailor-made show for them, right? I think we're going to lose something with that. And I think because we're going to lose something there, perhaps people will have a knee-jerk reaction to reject it rather than get even more addicted and even more sucked in than we already are. And wouldn't that be an interesting outcome, right? I think that would be really cool. So for me, I want to get back into more physical media. I've mentioned that here on the channel before, but even like deleting Instagram from my phone, I still find myself on YouTube and things like that, and I just don't know how do I overcome that? Do I even have to? There's really no incentive to do it, right? That's the problem. Anyway, I've rambled for long enough, so I want to know what you guys think. Have you discovered your attention span is also shot? And if so, how bad is it? And what do you think what have you done about it? What should we do about it? Do we even have to do anything about it, right? Or should we just let technology solve that problem like it's solved everything else? Who knows? And also, let me know what you think about the AI problem that I've outlined here. Do you think it's going to be just blissful content, unlimited forever, and we're just gonna love it and dive even deeper into it? Or do you think that people are actually going to reject purely digital content simply for the fact that, just like in GTA, even though the content is what you want and is what you wanted exactly, you'll know in the back of your mind that it's not real and it's not genuine, and maybe that's enough to get us to not want it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you want more videos like this, comment down below, let me know, drop a thumbs up. It really helps out the channel a ton. It helps get this video out into the YouTube algorithm, and consider subscribing for more videos like this and click the bell. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Omniarch. I will talk to you guys again soon. Peace.